In the previous videos of this series, we have learned about the measurement journey, and in that, so far, we have covered the three pillars, which is planning, building, and reporting. So, in this video, we are going to be looking at the remaining two pillars, which is forecasting and finally optimizing. So, we have seen that you need all the five pillars to make your measurement journey successful, right? And even in that we have covered planning, building, reporting. So for forecasting, as we have seen previously as well, in the basic setup or in the cave setup, it is just important to start something. Forecasting is just noticing trends or patterns and just uh, forecasting that this will be the result by next week, by next month, or in this amount of time. So it's important to start somewhere. But in the cave setup, you don't actually have a lot of data because you're just curious at this point and you have just started activating stuff, right? And you have informed yourself about what's happening, that you're getting some data, but you don't have too much data to actually guess or forecast what your results are going to be. But anyway, you have to start somewhere, right? So you have to start taking a guess that yeah, we are having these many users and we think it will go up by 50% at the end of the next week. So you can just take a guess at this point. Just start somewhere, start to forecast a bit, right? Then as you leave the cave setup and go to the basic setup or the valley setup, you have explored a bit, you have used the built-in basics, and you have connected the dots a bit. So you have something of a story that your data is telling you. So there is a room for improvement there. So you can actually improve in this setup. Alright. Now you have started. You have taken a guess that yeah, 50%. It will increase by 50%. But then you start to get feedback. In 1 to 3 days, you will see how customers are reacting with your website, and that way you can improve on your forecast a bit. Where you predicted 50%, you can maybe dial it down to 40% or 35%, because you predicted 50% but the growth was, let's say, 20%. So you dial it down a bit, you take it to 35, 40. So that way you can improve based on the feedback and the reactions you're getting, right? Then you start to get more specific, right? So let's say I go to the Google Analytics demo account, and here you can see the total revenue in the last 90 days and has gone up 20%, all right? But let's say you had set a target of 25%, so you're not off by that much. But uh, let's say you had set a target of 25 to 30%, but you are at 20%. So that way you're making it more specific. You're setting a target that it should have been 25 to 30% at this point, right? That's how you get more specific. You're specifying certain uh, things that you need at this point, right? Then finally combine, as we have seen in this stage with all the different pillars as well. This is where you combine your different data sources. So let's say you have started forecasting a bit. You said yeah, 50% it will increase, but then you improved a bit, you got feedback, you improved a bit, and you said no, let's keep it to 35 to 40%. We think that it will increase by 35 to 40%, but then you start to specify more, you get more data, you have a better build. So it enables you to specify, and you specify that it should be somewhere between 25 to 30. So as you can see, from having a vague range to 0 to 50%, you now have a very useful range, which is 25 to 30%, and it could also be the more accurate range, since you have a better build and better idea of what data is coming through and how people are behaving with your website. Then finally, in the combined stages where you are pulling in different data sources, uh, you can think of it this way, that you're forecasting how many people will come from the from Facebook ads, how many people will come from other ad platforms. So that way you are combining different data sources, and then you can tie them up with your analytics, right? So this is basically how you this is at the summit level, where you combine different data sources. And finally, moving on from forecasting, we come to the final pillar, which is optimizing. And again, in optimizing, in the very basic setup, in the cave setup, that is, you just need to be aware of there is something called optimizing. There is a way for you to optimize your business, so you need to be aware of that. But that does not mean that you're just aware about optimizing and you forget all these four. It starts from curiosity, that you're curious, right, in the planning pillar. Then it starts by activating, setting up something, then informing yourself, then starting to forecast a bit, taking a guess. Even if it's wrong, just take a guess, right? And then being aware that you can optimize based on those forecasts. Many people, they skip the forecasting step, like the planning step, but that's the wrong way to go about it, right? Then you need to be aware of the fact that you can optimize, and then you move on to results. You see the results, you're exploring using the built-in basics, you're looking at the data and connecting the dots to build a story. And the forecast, you're improving it, you're getting feedback and improving it. And then optimizing, you're getting results, right? How then in the next pillar, when we go in the customized stage, you're tackling the question how to get these results, right? Because at this stage you have a customized setup, you have started segmentation, you have a customized setup, you're reaching to actions, you're specifying stuff in the forecasting, that yeah, it should be around 25 to 30%. So you're uh, in this, in optimizing, you are telling yourself how do we get it to go inside that 25 to 30% range, like how do we get it up there. So that's what's happening in the optimizing pillar when you're at the customized stage, right? And finally you expand. So expand as in your, again, it is similar to previous trends that we have seen in all the other pillars. You're combining different data sources, you're getting in your Facebook ads, your other platforms, you're tying them up with Google Analytics. You're just combining different data sources to expand your business. And if we go back to the journey, you can see that when we are in the cave or in the valley or hills or even at the summit, there's one thing that's staying common, is that first you have planning, then building, then reporting, forecasting, and finally optimizing is the point where you actually leave the cave and go on to a better setup. So this is where you're actually leaving the cave and going to the valley. But that doesn't mean that you'll forget the four steps that came before this, right? Because you can't leave the cave until you have completed all five steps. But optimizing is the step where you actually optimize your business, you improve your setup, right, improve your build, and go to the next stage. And similarly, it's the same process: planning, building, reporting, forecasting. And optimizing is again where you move one step forward, where you go to the hills. Now you have a better setup, you have more data coming in, more accurate data coming in, you have a higher knowledge of what to do, what not to do, right? And then finally, again, from the optimized stage you're going to planning stage for the summit, and it's the same process again. And we had spoken about this earlier as well, the question, information, action tool, you could say. That you have a question and you have what information will be needed to answer that question, and then what action must be taken uh, based on that answer we are getting. So again, this is very useful, especially when it comes to these two, basic and customized implementation levels, right? And yeah, we have covered the whole measurement journey, where we started from the nothing setup. We saw how the planning, building, reporting, forecasting, and optimizing goes there, and how optimizing leads us to come out of the cave and move to the basic setup, which is the valley stage setup, right? Then again we follow the same route: planning, building, reporting, forecasting, optimizing, and move on to the next level. And then finally there's transform at the summit level. And even after this you could like move on from one summit to other, but most people don't need it. Of course you might need it in the later stages of the development of your business. But one important thing that I have said uh, throughout the series is that you always need to start at the basics, be it any pillar, right, or be it any implementation level, any stage. You need to start at basics, because you can't be at the start step and perform actions for the specified step. If you don't have data, if you don't have enough data, how will you specify your goals? Because you don't know at this point, you don't know if you have 5% increase or 50% increase. So how can you specify that I need this percent of increase by next week? Of course, at this point you guess, but you don't specify it that it should be this. You're guessing. You might even be wrong. There's a high chance that you might be wrong, but then again, you move on to a better build, then you improve because you have more data, more feedback coming in, more users are interacting. So there's always room for improvement here, and you keep on improving. And these two are the levels uh, which you will be there for most of your time, and that's a good thing because this is where you improve the most. Alright, so this was all for the measurement journey, the measurement matrix section. Right, we saw our measurement journey. It is knowing what you don't know in measurement is tricky, but when you know the measurement journey and your place in that journey, things get much easier, as we have seen through the whole matrix that we covered. Right, it says get out of the cave, through the valley, dashboard through the hills, and reach the summit step by step. Again, it's important to go step by step, and it's even more important to start at the most basic step. So yeah, these were the 5 pillars: planning, building, reporting, forecasting, optimizing. Yeah, this is the end of the series. Thank you for watching.